Next on Investigative Report. Why great sex destroys love. This is the story of us. How we fall in love, then in bed, and finally, how we fall apart. In the beginning of a relationship, we're close, we're tight, and no one can tear us apart. Until that first sexual experience. The one we believed to be kinky, but ultimately grew tiresome. Then we awoke one morning to the realization that the person we believed to be the right one had become the fright one. Love is the ingredient that all movies and fantasies are created from, as well as many nightmares and breakups. Could it be that we're designed to be forever incompatible with one another? Or is there an easier solution to finding someone whose company you would enjoy beyond a one-night stand? Now, we all know that bad relationships come to an end, but oftentimes great ones do too, and for all the very same reasons. They come to an end if the sex is boring, and especially if the sex is really, really good. And you know this. In the case where the sex is exceptional, we end up missing that person's lower half of their body down the road more than we would their upper half. So when you miss somebody you used to have sex with that was good, you're like, well, I really missed that, but you don't miss them. Now, this is because relationship was only sex-based and not based on the realities we needed to last a lifetime. In this episode of Investigative Report, we hope to give you some answers as to why we as humans are driven away by a relationship that is based purely off of great sex, as well as a roadmap that you might need to finding real love down the road so you don't go around repeating the same thing. Now, most younger adults and older persons look largely to beauty and sexuality when choosing a mate, but ultimately are not satisfied by either, as they head straight to the door in hopes of a better relationship outside of that place. But if facial beauty, a sexy body, and a pretty good sex life won't hold you to a person, then what will? In a word, I'd have to say compatibility. Now sure, this word may have been overused for the past 3 decades, but I believe it is about to get a rebirth of sorts today. Committed relationships are similar to cars, in that they need 4 points of contact to support them. You can't drive your car without 4 tires, right? Now, in vehicles, the 4 points of contact are tires, and in human closeness, the 4 points are different types of love based upon our ability to give and receive that particular love. Now, any relationship that is to survive beyond a short amount of time must have 4 points of contact similar to those car tires to get you down the road of life unscathed. But most unfortunately, many of us rely on only one tire, and that tire is sex, which is equivalent to that spare or donut tire you have in the trunk. And that was designed to carry you a short distance, not all week, not 30 days people try to make it, not a year because you can't afford a tire, right? Now, depending on one tire, where 4 are needed, ends up draining the relationship of life its participants will need to engage each other sexually or otherwise. So let's get into this. Starting with the analogy of using tires. Let's start with the front right tire and what that tire symbolizes in your relationship. So let's say the left front tire is a tire I consider to be the sexual driving tire for your relationship, or the sexual driving force. Now, it pulls you towards a relationship and it pulls you to remain in that relationship. Now, if you ever get a flat period in this relationship in the sexual department, you can fix it by changing up a stale routine. There's other things you can do. So, like I said, you keep having sex the same way, you need to change that up. You could do other things like you could patch it up by adding in kink. Some people like to be kinky. Or you can use that fix-a-flat relationship to help you get further down that same road. But mind you, be careful of the person who comes in as a tire repair person to bring you a new tire to replace the slightly worn out sex life you have now. So they're coming in to replace the person you're with. Now, once this sexual tire is replaced, so is the entire relationship. Because most relationships are so shallow without change that they are sexually based. Now, you can be spirited away from a relationship based purely off of sex with a salesperson that convinces you that you will never need a new tire again. But we all know this isn't true, right? Which is why you need something further lasting than sex as a gas to drive that relationship down the road. Let's go on. Now, other than that, you would have a car that always pulled to the left. You need an equally rated front right tire and alignment to drive a relationship beyond wanting to quit every time something goes wrong outside of your control, or every time you better have burps or farts in your presence, right? Now, the right front tire more than compensates for the deficiencies of the left sexual pull of the driver's side of the vehicle. The right front tire equals communication. The kind of communication I am talking about here is something akin to the way you talk with your best friend or compatibility. Now, every day of the week you talk to your best friend. You don't talk at them. You don't make demands. So communication is the linchpin of any relationship. I ask you, how well would you get along with your best friend you have known for years if they never called you, if they never texted you, or if they never cared about you? But this is what we do in relationships every day. We sit right in each other's presence, facing, ignoring one another, and calling that love. Is there no wonder why people leave a relationship in their head long before they ever do with their physical body? Now, I have this saying I have used since I counseled couples way back in 1993, which says, if you have a strong relationship in the horizontal than you do in the vertical, then you don't have a relationship. In other words, if your sex life is better than your standing up relationship communication, then after a while, one of you won't stand for that. You see, the lack of communication always spells the early death of any relationship, no matter how good the sex is or isn't. Now, let's see if you can wrap your minds around this. If you can't communicate out of bed, then how can you communicate your sexual desires and wants with your mate in the bed? See, you want to do something sexual? Can't say it. Now, let's continue to rotate the tires around to the vehicle until we make them in balance. And working around the vehicle to ensure that the tires are mounted and balanced just right, we would come to the left rear tire of the co-parenting or child planning tire. So it's co-parenting and child planning, but they're together. This is the left rear. Now, this tire spells out our future plans as a couple to either have children with one another or to hold off having children until later. If one lover in a relationship wants a child and the other does not, see, that's where there might be a slight problem. If there is a difference, that's where you're going to draw a problem in the middle. Now, like I said, if one wants to do something, someone wants to do something else. Now, this is a recipe for disaster and single motherhood, but ultimately relationships break down. Now, if both individuals in a relationship can't agree at any tire level, then we have a relationship vehicle that is out of balance and dangerous to operate without someone getting hurt. And in bad relationships, most people do, right? Now, and if we invite children into that unsafe vehicle of a relationship without the support of both parents, not one, then this is no good for them either. It does them no service. This is why it is always the third tire relationship, because any couple with an active sexual life is bound to produce a child, whether they're ready or not. Here I come, right? I always say sex is only exercise where two people go in a room and three people come out of it. Now, some guys especially, and some women today, are willing to wait a few years before having children. Whatever that wait time may be, it is best if both decide upon it. The wait is better than offering a child to a planet or a home where the mother and father despise one another, ultimately blaming the child for the disillusionment of the relationship when it falls apart. No good. Communication at this level also involves what decision is if we will have in disciplining our child together. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've seen one parent who believes in timeout, another who believes in hugging, the one who believes in spankings, and one who doesn't believe in spankings. Now, if you have successfully mounted those 3 tires of your relationship, then adding the last of the 4 tires should bring your relationship in balance. You need 4 tires, 4 points of contact on a car, 4 points of contact in a relationship to make it a real relationship. The last of 4 tires that a relationship needs to run smoothly over the rough roads of life is the right rear tire of forgiveness. Now, this tire more than any spells longevity in all relationships that span well beyond one-night stands, hookups, and plain and simple booty calls. In fact, couples who learn how to forgive one another like they would easily forgive their friends survive the 7-year itch, the 10-year glitch, and any other name you could put to the word divorce. Couples who have been married or together for upwards of 50 years or more will always tell you that you have to learn how to forgive one another. That's the only way they made it. Sex won't carry a relationship when you're 50 years old and 100 years old. Now, there's no friendship relationship on this planet where you didn't have to forgive one another sometime. Conversely, there is no area where someone is your worst enemy where you forgave them. What couples end up becoming is enemies in the same home without forgiveness. They end up being 2 roommates who pay the bills on time and screw one another, and people on the side successfully for what they lack in the house. They become 2 ships passing each other in the night. Not really a couple at all. Now, so hopefully you can understand now why sex alone does not make anyone stay with you over a lifetime, no matter how good you are at it, no matter how good you look, no matter how good you taste. This is chiefly because everyone on the planet can offer you sex. But as you go around the vehicle with the tires I've given you, only one person can offer you all of those things. Only one person. You don't really need another person if you were just putting a 1 tire on that car and that tire being sex. You don't need more than one person for that. You can do sex yourself. You don't need 2 people for sex. You see, for any of us could have sex with ourselves. People do it with their hands all the time. Sex with adult films, sex with strangers, or as many people as you could stand within a calendar year. But how many people could sell you a whole set of tires that would last? Not many, right? You've had many people in your life and out of your life. Yes, great sex kills love because that is all there is in that relationship. And after a while, the person always wants more beyond being a human sexual toy. For Investigative Report, this is Charles. We thank you. Come back and see us again next time. And remember, sex may be a part of dreams, but it'll kill a relationship. Oh, that's good.